So here you go. Enter this all into your calculator, L1. I checked, right? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. By the time I entered my last value, I do have 14, so that's a good check. Calculate the mean number of COVID-19 cases over the 14-day period. There's another way of double checking, right? Your N should be 14. Show your work here and confirm with your calculator. What I mean by showing your work, like if I want you to actually show me your work, um, right? Mean is found by going, you add up all the values and then you divide it by the number of values. Did I talk about that? Yeah. Okay. So basically if you add everything up, you can actually get this from one variable stats. I don't know if I showed you that before, but the addition of all the values is this 4761. And then you essentially divide it by 14, which is n. And so you get 340.07 cases. And in statistics, it's okay to have decimals because we're using it to compare it to another set of data perhaps, right? Because if we looked at a different province and they had 340.08, technically they had a slightly higher caseload per day. Okay, so we're using that to compare. If you did round to a whole number, it's okay today, but keep it to a decimal. Write down the data points in ascending order. Basically, all you have to do here is you go stat sort, and you're going to tell it to sort whatever is in L1. And then you go back, and then you just write all those numbers down. I'm going to trust you on that one. I can maybe show you what it looks like, complete it. But I do tell myself, right, sort L1, and then you just basically copy it down. Sometimes I want you to do that. It's nice to see, right, where it's going. And maybe just to check if you know how to do that, okay? So sort in ascending order L1, that's what I would do there. I'll just trust you on that, so you get a mark for that. Same up here. If you have 340, you get a mark, but I would like to see the work that comes before it, so that's why this is worth 2 marks. Okay, 1 mark for you writing this all in. So what I would check on a test or quiz is, do you have 14 values? So I quickly count 2, 4, like in twos, and if you have 14, you're good to go. Determine the median number of cases. Again, that was already done before. Wait a minute, why did you not do the L1 thing, Mr. Dirksen? It's best to do it because by default it will go to L1, but sometimes you'll go L2, L3, and so forth, right? You'll go to a different column, so it's a good habit to just tell it to go to L1. So the median in this case is 362.5 cases. You should start adding units to whatever we're doing because it's number of cases. What does this number tell us? What I wanted to write there is that half of the time, okay, there were fewer than 362.5 cases. That's what the median tells us. Half of the time it's less than that, and okay, half of the time more than 362.5 cases. If you wrote something that brings across the same point, you get the mark there. So you get a mark for actually stating the median and 1 mark for explaining what that number tells us. Determine the mode. The mode is 371 cases. I would have to say that median is not, the 362.5 is not an actual number in our data set. You calculate that because it's an even number of values. I don't know if I'm going to actually go down that route, but basically if it's even, you're going to find right? You find the two values that are in the middle, so you have the same number of values to either side, and then you calculate your, I guess it's between these two values. 362.5 is between these two. So if you check, let's cover these two up, right? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 values to the, to the right, and then 6 to the left of these two. So we essentially find the average of these two. We add it up, divided by 2 to get the 362.5. Okay, that's what's happening there. You get a mark for this. Calculate the range. Range, I just need you to know it's the max. Subtract the min. So you gotta watch out when your min is negative. For example, for temperature, then the minus, the subtraction here, and the negative for the min will turn into a positive. So you're actually adding in that case. So here we have our max is 415, our lowest is 175, and so there's a range of 240 cases. So 1 mark for that. Ontario's range for the same period was 1,000 cases. Explain what it tells us about the dispersion of the case numbers in Manitoba compared to Ontario. Dispersion is how spread out it is, right? So Manitoba's cases, or number of cases, I would say, number of cases are more consistent and less spread out because it has a lower range than Ontario. Okay, so that's what I would say here. And more consistent, you can also say Manitoba's cases are clustered around the mean. This is due to its lower range. Okay, you could have, if you wanted to talk about standard deviation, you could have done that as well. Manitoba has a lower range, which also means it has a lower standard deviation, which means that the case numbers are closer, on average, are closer to what the average is. Okay. So any of those would have done the trick there. For the line plot, I'm just gonna show you what my key already has, the finished line plot. Maybe I'll just get it started here. So yeah, essentially just make a line that fits your page, right? And you want arrowheads on both sides, and you want to start with something that makes sure that includes the lowest value. In this case, it's 175. So you can start with 175 if you want. You can also start with 150. It's up to you, right? But it has to be a consistent scale. So if you go 50, so let's say I will make this 200, 250, and I try to make it as consistent as possible, right? So 250, 300, 350, 400, 450. That's good enough already, but I'm just gonna go to 500 because I have the space, right? So you are going up consistently by the same amount and the same gap between values. That's a big theme in this unit. Okay, yeah. For a line plot, we don't need to add zippers, period. when we do the other one where we have our y-axis included, then you need to have a zipper. Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah. So this would have been acceptable. I really don't care what your scale is, just make sure it works out. So if you went up by 10, you just have very small markings probably, right? That's fine. It's still accurate. And so then based on this, I start entering my values, right? And I think what I saw looked good. So I just go to my L1, right, and start entering that. So 175 for me would be right about there. And then 268 would be, this is 275, so 268 is slightly over to here. The next value is 281, that's going to be here. 299, it's very close to 300. Then it's 305, right, and so forth. So that's what it looks like. I'll show you my finished line plot here. And obviously I used, it's a slightly longer line. My scale is different. I'm actually going up by 25 here, but it doesn't matter. So what I need to see here is I'm going to highlight what I want to see is I want to see that your axis is labeled. You have the arrowheads. You have a scale, right? So scale is big here for us. We want a scale that is consistent. And I would definitely look for the mode to be stacked like that, for two dots to be one on top, right, of the other, or two. I know I used X's here, it doesn't matter. You can use dots or X's, it doesn't matter. And it just shows us the spread of the data set. And then you have to, if you want full marks, you need to label where the mean is, where the mode is, that one is easy in this case, and where the median is along the line. So use arrows to kind of point to whereabouts that would land. Okay. So I would say all the highlighted, like the yellow highlighting would be one mark, and then this would be another mark, the orange part, like actually labeling everything. So for now, that's what we're gonna do here for 2 marks. So we are at 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. Okay, so this page is worth 11 marks so far. Let's go to the back side now. And this is where I am going to differ with you. I started mine at 140, but then I decided to help you out with a starting point so we all kind of had the same starting point. So you're going to have to just bear with me on this one. This is the same table again, just so you didn't have to flip back and forth. Complete the frequency table. I tell you to use an interval width of 50. So this shouldn't be too difficult. I'm just going to fill that in. Is that going to account for everything? I'm good, I think. I'm using, right, 175 is my lowest, it's going to fit in here. 415 is going to fit in here. So I know I don't need to add a row, perhaps, because sometimes it could happen. Because I just do this to help you out. Let's do the tally here real quick. You should be done this already, but here it is one more time. Okay, I'm going to tally that on the side here. I'll just show you one more time. This is your goal. So 175, 268 isn't even in here. It would fit in this category. 281, 299, 305, 329, 354 gets me to here. 371, 371, 385, 399, 402, I'm in here, 407, 415, and we're done. Okay, so that's how you do that. 1, 0, 3, 2, 5, 3, and check, right? This is 8, 10, 13, 14. So I always want you to check that you actually account for every single point. So if you got this table I'm going to give you 2 marks if it's filled in properly. Okay? And remember, this is a frequency table. It's not the frequency table. You understand that? You could have started at 175 if you wanted to, and then go up by 100. It's up to you. But students found it. It's very frustrating when you do your own thing and your neighbor does one other thing and I do another thing and you're like, did I get this right? Did I get right? And so right now the point is, are you able to do this and can we quickly find out whether or not you can? Okay. All right. And here's the histogram. The histogram, it says histogram and frequency polygon. By the way, you can do either or. I honestly find it easiest to do my histogram and frequency at the same time, no matter which one is asked of you. If you do both of them, you're going to be fine. Okay. So I'll just do that. And this is essentially, this is essentially your line plot compared to the frequency. Right? That's essentially what's happening here. So interval is number of cases. Hold on. Yeah. Number of cases, yes. And this would be number of days. There you go. So we label that. And then I'm just going to make it conveniently. I'm going to go a zipper right away. I'm going to say I'm going to start. I basically use this table to help me out. So I'm going to start with 150 and then consistently go up by, so it's 200, 250, 300, 350, 400, 450. There we go. You can go 500 if you want, doesn't matter. And then the number of days, the highest is 5. So spread it out. I'm going to use my ruler on this one to help me be very consistent. And I saw a lot of you using rulers, so I appreciate that. It looks so much nicer. Use a ruler. And so 150, we have 1. Okay, 1 bar. So just go and make that bar. That is 1. Then it's 0. And then 250 to 300, we have 3. So that needs to go all the way to 3 here. There we go, 3. And then 2 and 5, so this would be 2. And then 5, 350 to 400 is 5, so we just go up to 5. Match that. And they've got 3, so that'll be the same height as that bar there. And voila, that's your histogram. And now your frequency polygon. All you have to do is you find the midpoints, right? This is a midpoint, this is a midpoint. So for every interval width, you find the midpoint. And make sure you connect it to the x-axis. Oops, almost missed that one. There you go. So in a sense, I wish I could do this just with an iPad, just change this up. But if you chose a bar of 25, you would have more bars, right? More bars, because you still need to fit in everything up to 450. They would be skinnier, right? And you've got more bars going on there. That's the difference. But the general shape is going to be about the same. It's almost like you're just breaking it down into smaller chunks. And why would you want to do that? Well, that's up to you. What is it that you're trying to show here? maybe there's a lot of fluctuations in between, so you want to show that little, I'm going to use graph for this to make my point. I don't know if you remember these printers that use this paper. They essentially just burn it into this this paper. But let's say you had this exact same scenario. Right? It's kind of what it looks like. Right? And you chose smaller bars. Right? You would essentially break this down. Let's say I want a lot smaller. Okay, you would essentially break these down into smaller chunks, but your data would still be the same. However, most likely these bars would be slightly different, like you would actually see a bit of change because you're spreading it out. You're being able to be a bit more specific. Okay, so that's the difference. But other than that, you're still doing the same thing that we're doing here. We're organizing it and trying to graphically represent what's happening. Okay, so 3 marks. I would say this, for sure 1 mark for a consistent scale. I would say if the zipper is missing, go -half. But if the scale isn't consistent, I would -1. I would go -1. Then half a mark for the labels and another mark for actually drawing your bars and having both histogram. So 1 for the graph, 1 for scale, and 1 for labels. Okay? So that's kind of how I break this down. Fun stuff, eh? I know. I know. Don't get too excited though. So then we have this one. I don't know if you understood what needed to happen here, but using numbers 1 to 10, put them in here so that you have a mean of 6, a median of 5, and a mode of 4. I would start here. Start with your median, because the median is the middle number, so this would be a 5. Check, that's done. A mode of 4, that means that you want to have mostly 4s. So because it's smaller than 5, you should put it to the left side, so that's checked, right? This is your mode. This is your median. Right, mode, median, and then you need to figure out what's the rest going to be. And this is the trick on this one. I take my mean, and to get the 6, you divide it by the number of values, correct? Right? So I will go times 5 values. So that's 30. This is the sum. I multiply this by 5 values because that's how many I'm considering to say, hey, like if I were to add them all up, what should I get? And the answer is 30. So this is what you do. This is just my way of doing it, but you know that all of them added up should have a sum of 30. You know that this already adds up to what? This is 9, this is 13. So what do you need these two to add up to? If this is 13, then you need this to be 17. So now you have options. So you could do 6 and 9. Right, 6 and 9. If you did 5 and 10, you're in trouble because then you have 2 5s. And then now you have another mode. So 10 and 5 is actually not an option. Okay. No, sorry. It's not 9 and 6, right? What was I? I was thinking 15 for some reason. Sorry, guys. 9 and 8. 9 and 8 would be 17, right? You could do 10 and 7. That would also work. 10 and 7, 9 and 8, and that's it. You don't have any other options. Right? So I'll give you 3 marks in the following way. If you put the 5 in the middle, you get 1 mark for the median. If you have 2 4s in there, you get a mark for that, and then 1 more mark for figuring out these two, the 2 numbers that go here. it should be arranged to get this right because the median is the middle number where half are below and half are above. Okay. Okay, so what are we at on this page? 3, 6, and 2, that's 8. 8 and 11, right? 19, yeah, we're good. So make sure you have a mark out of 19 at the top, your name and last name.